Welcome back to another custom-tailored deep dive, everyone. We've got a really wild one for you today.
Oh, absolutely. It's quite the story.
Yeah, so today we are looking at an intriguing Wikipedia excerpt about a man named Ed Currie. And the mission for our deep dive today is to explore the incredible, fiery reinvention of a guy who went from hitting absolute rock bottom to, well, literally breeding the hottest things on planet
All
Earth.
right, the absolute hottest.
Yeah. We're talking about a collision of personal triumph, some really meticulous agricultural science, and a surprisingly fierce botanical controversy. Okay, let's unpack this.
And you'll probably notice my virtual backdrop today has shifted to this sprawling, sun-baked pepper farm.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Very nice.
Thanks. I think it sets a nice, calm, analytical tone for what is fundamentally a story about taking chaos and planting it into these neat, structured rows.
Yeah, sure. Because his life started out with a whole lot of chaos.
Exactly. I mean, to understand the agricultural empire he built, we really first have to understand the systemic collapse that came before it.
Right. So, looking at the source material, Ed Currie was born in 1963 in West Bloomfield Township, Michigan.
Yep. Grew up in the Metro Detroit area.
And he eventually graduates from Central Michigan University and sets his sights on a career that is, honestly, about as far removed from organic farming as you can possibly get.
He becomes a stockbroker.
Right, a stockbroker. And the timing of this career launch is just, it's unbelievable.
It really is.
According to the sources, his literal first day of work after qualifying as a stockbroker happens to be Black Monday.
Wow. Yeah, the day the global financial markets notoriously collapsed.
Exactly. Like stepping onto the trading floor on Black Monday, it's not even like boarding the Titanic just as it hits the iceberg.
No, it's worse.
It's more like spending years meticulously building a house, right? And the very moment you turn the key in the front door for the first time, the earth just opens up and swallows the entire neighborhood.
That's a great way to put it.
You do all the work, you get the qualifications, and the entire structural foundation of your chosen industry just disintegrates on day one. So I have to ask, does experiencing that kind of massive, uncontrollable professional collapse right out of the gate, does that somehow wire a person to seek control in other extreme ways?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, experiencing that level of uncontrollable professional collapse right out of the gate, it's a profound psychological shock.
I can only imagine.
Right, because a stockbroker's entire job is built on the illusion of predicting and controlling market variables.
Oh, that makes sense.
So to have the market instantly remind you that you actually control nothing, it sets a very dark precedent for a young professional.
And the sources really detail a severe downward spiral from there.
They do, yeah.
It says Curry subsequently struggles with substance abuse for years, operating as what the text describes as a functional addict.
Which is a heavy term.
It is. I always find that term fascinating because it implies a person is, successfully maintaining a facade.
Right, they're passing as fine to the outside world.
Exactly. They are showing up to work, maybe even succeeding on paper, while the internal infrastructure is completely rotting away.
And that compartmentalization takes an immense toll on a person.
It has to.
Functional addiction is essentially this high-wire act of managing neurochemistry. But eventually, the wire snaps.
Yeah.
For Currie, that structural collapse reached its absolute lowest point in 1999.
The sources note this was a profoundly dark period.
Yes. He actually contemplated suicide. But instead of that tragic end, he made a structural choice to rebuild. He chose to enter rehab.
Which is incredible. But surviving that kind of rock bottom requires finding a new anchor,
Absolutely.
You can't just remove an addiction and leave a vacuum. You have to fill that void with something else.
Something healthier, ideally.
Right. Which takes us from the rehab clinics of 1999 to a fateful move 2 years later. In 2001, he moves back to his parents' hometown in South Carolina.
And a change of physical geography is often, the first step in maintaining a change in your internal state.
Getting away from the old haunts.
Exactly. You remove yourself from the environmental triggers of your past.
And South Carolina is where the alchemy of his recovery really begins. He meets his future wife, Linda, at recovery meetings.
A huge turning point.
Yeah. But simultaneously, he begins growing peppers in his yard. He starts experimenting with crossbreeds right there in the dirt.
Just as a hobby at first.
Right, substituting his past addictions with this intense horticultural hobby. But it brings up a profound psychological
Oh,
paradox.
so?
Well, think about it. Here's a man actively recovering from a self-destructive eviction, a source of immense personal pain, right?
Uh-huh.
And he replaces that coping mechanism by engineering a plant that inflicts literal physical pain on anyone who eats it.
Oh, that is a fascinating redirection of energy.
Isn't it?
Because substance abuse relies on immediate, chaotic hits of dopamine.
Right.
Gardening is the absolute antithesis of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it requires profound patience.
You can't rush a plant.
Exactly. You plant a seed, you have to manage the soil chemistry, you wait weeks for germination. It offers this slow, controlled, nurturing feedback loop.
So he's taking that obsessive energy and moving it somewhere safe.
Yes, he essentially channeled the obsessive drive of an addictive personality into a highly productive, organic passion.
And that productive passion doesn't stay a yard hobby for long. I mean, picture your own backyard garden.
Okay, picturing it. Probably some sad tomatoes.
Right, exactly. Now imagine turning that exact same patch of dirt into a national agricultural empire in just 2 years.
It's staggering.
By 2003, his backyard experimentation transforms into the Puckerbutt Pepper Company based in Fort Mill, South Carolina.
Puckerbutt. Great name.
It really is. And the scale of this operation today is just wild. They sell seeds, pepper mash, hot sauce.
They do it all.
Yeah, they boast around $1 million in annual sales, and it stands as the largest organic pepper farm in the entire United States.
Which, by the way, is no small feat. Operating as an organic farm at that scale means you cannot rely on synthetic pesticides or chemical fertilizers.
Oh, right, because it has to be certified organic?
Exactly. You are managing pest control through natural predators, managing soil nutrients through crop rotation and organic compost. It is incredibly labor-intensive.
So what does this all mean? I look at this transition and my immediate thought is that you don't accidentally scale a backyard tomato patch into $1 million organic empire.
No, you definitely don't.
His stockbroker background must have kicked in, right? He knew how to read markets, how to scale an asset. My guess is he just finally found an asset he actually believed in, one he grew with his own hands.
That is highly likely. The business acumen never left him. It was simply waiting for the right application.
Makes total sense.
But having a massive farm and good business sense is only part of the equation here. To truly dominate a niche industry like extreme heat, you need a flagship product.
You need something nobody else has.
Exactly. You need to offer the market something that literally does not exist anywhere else.
Which brings us to the bizarre, meticulous science of extreme pepper breeding. Because Ed Currie didn't just grow peppers. He engineered a botanical monster.
You really did.
And the mechanics of how he does it are surprisingly low-tech.
Very low tech.
Yeah, because he couldn't just rely on standard seeds to build his empire. He essentially had to become an amateur geneticist.
Mm-hmm.
He crossbreeds his pepper plants manually using a simple paintbrush.
Which is a brilliant, delicate workaround.
Wait, can you explain that? How does the paintbrush work?
Sure. So pepper plants are generally self-pollinating.
Okay.
They have both male and female parts in the same flower. So to create a hybrid, you have to intercept nature.
You have to stop them from pollinating themselves.
Right. You have to carefully open an unpollinated flower, remove the pollen-producing stamen so it can't fertilize itself,
Wow.
and then you use a tiny paintbrush to physically deliver pollen from a completely different pepper plant directly onto the stigma.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I'm picturing this guy as an agricultural mad scientist, carefully painting with fire.
That's a great image.
And the specific recipe for his first masterpiece, the Carolina Reaper, is fascinating.
Oh, the Reaper.
He took a Naga pepper, which is a chili originally grown in India and Bangladesh,
Yep.
and he combined it with a La Soufriere pepper from St. Vincent in the Caribbean.
Two very different parts of the world.
Exactly. Now, my guess is he's not just throwing heat at heat and hoping it multiplies. It's more like taking the engine of a muscle car and putting it into the lightweight chassis of a race car.
Right. A very specific combination.
Yeah, he must be isolating the extreme chemical resilience of the South Asian Naga and fueling it with the unique mineral profile and genetics of the Caribbean La Soufriere. Is that why he chose those specific two?
What's fascinating here is exactly that deliberate geographical synthesis.
So it wasn't random.
Not at all. He is playing matchmaker with genetics from entirely different hemispheres right there in a South Carolina backyard.
That is so cool.
It is. The Naga brings a very specific, lingering capsicum profile, while the La Soufriere brings traits adapted to volcanic Caribbean soils.
Good.
He's basically cross-wiring their survival mechanisms. And when plants are stressed, or when their genetics combine in novel ways, they often produce more capsaicin.
And capsaicin is the chemical compound that makes peppers hot.
Right, exactly. It's produced as a biological defense mechanism.
And we really need to explain how we measure that defense mechanism because the numbers in the source material get absurd.
Truly absurd.
We measure pepper heat in Scoville heat units, or SHU. But the Scoville scale isn't just an arbitrary number. Originally, it was a literal measure of dilution.
Exactly. Wilbur Scoville developed the test in 1912.
Okay.
And the premise is simple but kind of punishing. It's basically asking how much sugar water does it take to completely neutralize the heat of an exact amount of pepper extract.
Okay, so let's put that in perspective. A standard jalapeno sits at around 2 to 8,000 Scoville heat units.
Right.
That means it takes roughly 2 to 8,000 drops of sugar water to wash away the heat of 1 drop of jalapeno extract.
Correct.
So that patient, agonizing paintbrush work that Ed Currie was doing, it paid off on a global scale.
It really did.
Because the result of that Naga and Le Soufriere crossbreed was the Carolina Reaper. And in 2013, Guinness World Records officially crowned it the world's hottest chili.
And that certification changes everything.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, a Guinness World Record in this context isn't just a plaque for the office wall. It is an unparalleled global marketing engine.
It immediately validates the entire Puckerbutt brand.
Yes.
And it catapulted Currie into mainstream pop culture.
He was everywhere.
He wasn't just an agricultural anomaly anymore. He was a cultural icon of extreme heat. His creations became the centerpiece of the hit YouTube interview show Hot Ones.
Oh, I love that show.
Me too. He created the last dab, which is the absolute spiciest hot sauce they use at the climax of the show to break down celebrities.
It's hilarious to watch.
It really is. And he was featured in the chili eating episode of the 2020 Netflix documentary series We Are the Champions. He even showed up on Dirty Jobs.
It's a remarkable cultural phenomenon, honestly.
Why do you think people are so drawn to it?
Well, people are biologically hardwired to avoid pain, right?
Yeah.
Yet there is this massive entertainment ecosystem built around watching people voluntarily subject themselves to Currie's creations.
Yeah, it makes no sense on an evolutionary level.
Right. He engineered a product that bypasses our evolutionary warning systems and turns pain into a shared communal spectacle.
But there's a unique problem with inventing the hottest thing in the world. Once you hold the crown, the only person left to geet is yourself.
You become your own fiercest competitor.
Exactly. And when you finally manage to break your own seemingly unbreakable record, the botanical world starts to ask some very pointed questions.
Because the limits of botany are constantly being pushed by a very competitive, very niche community of growers.
Right. So, fast forward a full decade from the Carolina Reaper's coronation. On August 23, 2023, Guinness officially recognizes Currie's new creation.
The big one.
Yeah. He simply names it Pepper X, and the Guinness certification declares it the new hottest chili on Earth. The numbers here are difficult to conceptualize.
They really are.
Pepper X was measured at a staggering 2.69 million Scoville heat units.
2.69 million.
Yeah.
So to apply that dilution math we discussed earlier,
Oh, wow, yeah.
that means it would theoretically take nearly 3 million drops of water to neutralize the heat of a single drop of Pepper X extract.
That is terrifying.
It is a level of capsaicin concentration that is pushing the absolute biological limits of what a pepper pod can physically contain.
But heavy is the head that wears the crown, right?
Yeah.
This new record triggers immediate pushback.
Naturally.
The source material outlines a real controversy brewing in the pepper community. A Michigan grower actively contests the Pepper X record.
There was a lot of debate.
Yeah, there are allegations raised regarding defects in the study that Guinness used to certify the pepper.
And this tension is heavily compounded by Ed Currie's firm refusal to allow other independent testing of his new creation.
Right. And when we talk about defects in a botanical testing study, it is crucial to understand what that actually means in practice.
What are they actually accusing him of?
We are usually talking about the manipulation of physical variables. Capsaicin, again, is a defense mechanism.
Right, from stress.
Right. If you take a pepper plant and purposefully stress it, say, by withholding water to simulate a severe drought, or manipulating the soil acidity right before harvest, the plant will panic.
And flood its pods with extra capsaicin.
Exactly. So the Michigan grower is essentially asking a methodological question. Were these peppers tested under a universally controlled standard agricultural baseline?
Or were they juiced?
Right. Or were they cultivated under extreme, highly manipulated conditions specifically to juice the Scoville numbers for the test?
And I see the tension here. If you have the undisputed hottest pepper on Earth, and you've done the rigorous botanical science, why hide the methodology?
It's a fair question. I look at this and wonder, is Curry simply protecting his intellectual property? Like, is he treating the Pepper X genetics like the closely guarded secret recipe for Coca-Cola?
Hmm.
Or does the outright refusal of independent third-party testing legitimately undermine the scientific validity of his achievement?
This raises an important question about the intersection of agricultural science and commercial spectacle.
Definitely.
And, keeping strictly to the facts presented in our sources without taking a side, we really see two fundamentally opposed philosophies colliding here.
Break this down for me.
Well, on one hand, protecting the genetic material of Pepper X makes total commercial sense.
Yeah, of course.
If Currie allows independent labs or other growers to test the pepper, he risks physical seeds or viable genetic tissue falling into the hands of direct competitors.
And they could just steal his work.
Exactly. Competitors who could reverse engineer a decade of his painstaking paintbrush work in a single season. The intellectual property is the lifeblood of Puckerput's multi-million-dollar revenue.
It's the ultimate proof of concept for a brand built entirely on extreme heat. If you lose the exclusivity of the genetics, you lose the crown.
Precisely. But on the other hand, the scientific method is fundamentally built on transparency, independent verification, and peer review.
Right.
When allegations of testing defects arise, the standard scientific response is to open the data and the physical specimens up to outside scrutiny.
To prove the haters wrong.
Exactly. So when the response is instead a refusal to allow outside testing, it creates a massive friction point.
I can see why the community got frustrated.
The botanical community relies on verifiable data, while the commercial enterprise relies on proprietary secrecy and the marketing power of the Guinness certification.
It forces you to consider what you actually value when you interact with these cultural phenomenons.
Definitely.
When you watch a celebrity crying on a YouTube show, or when you buy a bottle of hot sauce based on a world record label, how much do you care about rigorous, independent peer review?
Most people probably don't care at all.
Right. Does it truly matter if the 2.69 million Scoville measurement can be independently replicated in a sterile lab? Or is the Guinness plaque and the sheer entertainment value of the claim enough?
Because the record itself is a consumable product, just as much as the hot sauce is.
Exactly.
It is a brilliant marketing ecosystem fueled entirely by a plant's biological defense mechanism.
We've covered an incredible amount of ground today.
We really have.
Let's take a step back and look at the whole arc of this journey. We started with a young Ed Currie stepping onto the trading floor on Black Monday, watching the foundational stability of his chosen career vanish in a matter of hours.
Just poof, gone.
We tracked his descent into the compartmentalized darkness of functional addiction, hitting a profound rock bottom in 1999.
A systemic collapse that required a complete structural rebuild.
Exactly. And from that rubble, we saw a remarkable reinvention.
He finds a new anchor in a South Carolina garden.
Right, substituting the chaotic dopamine of substance abuse with the patient, nurturing rhythm of horticulture. He takes a literal paintbrush and painstakingly crossbreeds his way from a backyard coping mechanism to a $1 million agricultural empire.
That's wild.
He engineers the Carolina Reaper, capturing the mainstream pop culture imagination, and ultimately sparks a fierce debate over scientific transparency versus commercial intellectual property with the staggering 2.69 million Scoville heat of Pepper X.
It is a remarkable narrative of human resilience and botanical engineering. But, as we wrap up our analysis of these sources, I want to leave you with a lingering thought to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
When humans like Ed Currie dedicate their lives and utilize such intense, meticulous science to breeding literal pain, engineering peppers so biologically extreme, they push the very boundaries of human physical tolerance. What does that say about our relationship with extreme experiences?
Oh, wow.
Are we, as a species, simply trying to conquer nature by engineering its most hostile forms? Or are we just trying to prove to ourselves that we can survive the fires we create with our own hands?
That is a fascinating question to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this custom-tailored deep dive, everyone. We hope this journey through the science of extreme heat and human reinvention has given you a new perspective. Keep exploring the sources, keep looking for the mechanisms behind the facts, and above all, keep questioning the world around you.